James Madison enters a new era in Bob Chesney, and it'll be interesting to see how he continues their success and what this program looks like with Curt Cignetti heading to Indiana. We take a look at the top 10 players returning to the Dukes this year and coming in from the transfer portal and see what that means for this team in 2024. Despite James Madison's success stopping teams last year, it was kind of lopsided in terms of how good they were against the run versus how much they struggled against the pass. That being said, they have plenty of talent coming back, and there's still a lot of players to be excited about in that secondary specifically. Chauncey Logan is one of those guys. With D'Angelo Pons heading to Indiana in the transfer portal, that is definitely a loss that stung a little bit more than some of the other guys. But Chauncey Logan is back. I think that he has a really good frame, someone who is very capable of doing a lot of exciting things and capable of shutting down the opposing team's best wide receiver, someone who is going to be tested quite a bit with Pons gone. But again, the talent they have in the secondary should still be good. It's going to be a transitional period, so you might see a little bit of a step back overall. But Chauncey Logan is going to be one of those guys that you can rely on in 2024. Another guy that comes back and joining him is Jacob Thomas at safety. Again, the secondary should be fine. Thomas is one of those guys that you don't really talk about a ton, but he is someone who was a big time playmaker. He was a first team all Sun Belt selection according to College Football Network, someone who is a big time playmaker. 54 tackles, one tackle for loss, six passes defended. He will be asked to do a little bit more with new fresh faces coming in. But again, this secondary appears to still be in good hands. I really like where this group is headed despite the big time losses. They lost a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. And I was obviously expected as soon as Zignetti left for Indiana, you knew that there was going to be a mass exodus of players. But some of the guys they got back are good guys to have return, and you have experienced players that are going to lead the way. Obviously, you have to get used to Chesney's culture. You have to figure out what Lyle Hemphill wants to do defensively, but this should still be a tough group to beat on the defensive side of the ball. So if you're a James Madison fan, you shouldn't be worried too much. On the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line features a couple of players that should be big time for them and nice to have back. Cole Potts is one of them, another first team all Sun Belt selection, a senior with 43 games of experience, or 43 starts, I should say, 44 games of experience under his belt. He will be a factor on the inside, a ton of turnover on the offensive line, and obviously that's going to play a huge role. So we'll see what happens there. There's a lot of fresh faces, but Cole Potts returning makes life a little bit easier for everybody around him. Jordan McLeod hit the transfer portals. That tells us that we need to identify a new quarterback. It appears that Dylan Morris is going to be the guy, the Washington transfer who sat behind multiple quarterbacks waiting his time and ultimately decided to transfer to a place where he's going to get that opportunity to actually start. 224 yards last year, one touchdown. So obviously nothing that you can really see in terms of what you're going to get from him, but I'm excited to see him get his opportunity, his ability to throw the ball down the field with the new talent that they have will be something to keep an eye on. But I think that the fact that they're getting such a brand new start allows Chesney to kind of mold his program into what he wants it to be. He can kind of move on from the Signetti era. Not that anybody wants to, but I think it's really hard when you get a new coach coming in because everyone expects things to be a certain way. And the fact that you lost so many of your starters and a lot of your coaching staff from last year allows Chesney to do his own thing and bring in a quarterback like Morris where you can reset expectations and, like I said, build it into what you want it to be instead of what it was. Underrated transfer addition, George Pedway. The running back comes in from North Carolina and last year didn't have the best production, but he was also stuck in a very deep, very talented North Carolina running back room. That was a running back room that was deeper than probably any group in the country. And Pedway decided that he needed a chance to showcase what he can do. Now he's still going to have to compete for his touches. He's still going to have to compete for the starting job, but he is someone who I think has plenty of talent to be that go-to guy. Again, you lost Kalen Black to the transfer portal. You lose a number of players that were producers for James Madison last year. And again, back kind of to like the Dylan Morris thing, you have so many new faces coming in. You're resetting those expectations. You're letting people see this is what James Madison football is going to look like in this new era. And with so many new faces, it kind of allows you to do that reset and allow guys like Pedway to get their shot and showcase what they can do. Day, he's another one of those guys that will factor into the running back position. He will definitely be in the rotation. At worst, he will definitely compete for that starting spot. The North Texas transfer had a huge year last year, 1,017 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. So an explosive player, someone who is going to be really fun to watch in this offense. And it's going to be a deep group. James Madison is going to have plenty of talent at the running back position. They will have options for sure. And it's just a matter of how do they utilize each of those guys, keep those guys happy, get them enough touches, because that's going to be a big key. If they're able to do that, then this offense should be just fine. Another underrated transfer was getting Raymond Scott from Fresno State, a guy who didn't have the best year statistically, but someone who is a veteran, multiple years of experience with the Bulldogs, and he takes over in a linebacker group that is desperately needing talent. You have certain players coming back, but Raymond Scott is someone who can give them plenty of years of experience. Again, don't go strictly by last year's numbers. Look at his production over the last few years, and you'll see that you're getting a big time playmaker that can help replace some of that talent that hit the transfer portal. A player who could have a big year for James Madison is wide receiver Cam Ross, the former UConn transfer, had 552 yards and 1 touchdown. He is, if you watch this film, he's really fun to watch. He's an explosive player that can get open on a frequent basis and someone who people don't really talk about as much. He just, again, when you play at UConn, you're not going to get a ton of attention. You will not get the eyeballs on you because you are just on a team that doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't get a lot of respect. Now you go to James Madison in a wide receiver group that needs a go-to guy to step up with the amount of talent they lost. Ross could definitely be that guy. And if he finds chemistry with Dylan Morris, then I like that connection to be really efficient in 2024. Hurst Jones gets a chance to bounce back after a tough year, still finished honorable mention all Sun Belt, but not the year that I think he anticipated or that staff was hoping for from him. Now he gets a chance to welcome in a bunch of new faces. He is a veteran that also has multiple years of experience and someone who can be really good in terms of making good reads, getting to the football, getting to the ball carrier, and making plays. He's been a guy that's been solid for James Madison over the last few years, and he's back for another year to showcase that he can do that once again. The final guy in that running back rotation is Tyler Purdy. He follows Bob Chesney in from Holy Cross, and you're looking at a guy who was also explosive despite limited touches. 7.4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, also a factor in the passing attack. So you have a three-headed monster potentially at James Madison, and you're going to need that with the conference you play in the Sun Belt. You're going to face talented teams. This is a deep conference that is going to be tough to win and a tough conference to compete in. And the fact that they brought in talent from the transfer portal and retained a couple of key guys tells me that James Madison should be just fine. Now, do I think they're going to take a step back? I do, but I don't think it's going to be as big as a lot of people anticipate. If Chesney can truly get his his vision to come to life early, then you're looking at a team that's going to look different than what it looked like under Signetti, but it's a team that will still continue to compete at a high levels. James Madison has been a winner for years now, and this fan base hopes that Chesney can do the exact same. And with the talent that he retained and brought in, there shouldn't be too many concerns about what they can do this year.